Hello, everyone. Well, what brings us here today appears to be, of all people, J.K. Rowling. As you may know, she has been the subject of attention for saying things along the lines of women are women, gender is real, stuff to that effect. She had received hate for being a transphobe on one side and support on the other side, claiming her to be supposedly on the side of sanity. In retrospect, it seemed like the same old song and dance of aggrieved gynocentric entitlement, and it seems that this is turning out to be true considering the recent turns she's been taking. Not unpredictable, not surprising, in fact, very consistent with her feminist grandstanding and freaking out about the supposed erasure of women and the alleged misogynistic attack on women's rights. Mind you, women have all the rights, and it can be argued they always have had them, sans what was made up for them in the form of entitlements. But women in the present day have both in abundance, while men's rights are not only lacking, but it's taking a great effort and uphill battle to even bring it to light without feminists claiming that they care about men too. Long story short, they don't, by the way. Anyway, I'm going too much on a tangent here. Let's talk about J.K. Rowling. So, I don't follow her on Twitter or anything. Give me one reason I should. And this tweet is by an account called Bad Writing Takes, which was probably my first look at the new problems I've been noticing from the Rowling camp. Alright, let's take a look at this tweet here. J.K. Rowling has gone on a Twitter rant against trans women and by extension cis men being allowed to be carers. Gender-critical feminists are now apparently now arguing that childcare should be a job entirely for women. Now, why does that sound familiar? Hashtag JKR versus LGBTQ. That's an absolutely valid question to ask. I mean, men are competent, very good caregivers, stereotyped otherwise, but, it's a simple fact. Men are good caregivers and can definitely put their mind to it if they have to do it. Especially if it's their job. Now let's see this J.K. Rowling tweet here. I cannot overestimate my contempt for those supporting policies that endanger extremely vulnerable girls. This is a travesty. How have we learned nothing from successive abuse scandals? Do we value the disabled so little? It's a 1 out of 5, a tweet in 5 parts, 1 out of 5. And we've got this very gynocentrically entitled sounding user, Alishba. 100% yes, J.K. Rowling is so absolutely right. I would be furious if daycares had male teachers or if I was forced to hire male nannies and my kid is not even disabled. How the fuck have we become so daft in the name of equality and diversity? So if I'm reading this second person right, it looks like male teachers are evil, apparently. Men are always predators, right? That's the direction this thing is going on here. Yeah, it looks like Bad Writing Takes us, right? The sentiment I'm seeing here is downright hatred of men being in a position of caring for anyone from children to the disabled. It's the same sort of bullshit that Lauren Southern once spouted about never wanting to go to a daycare run by males. I think that was what it was. I think it was last year or so. As we will see in this video, the attitude behind J.K. Rowling and her sycophants is that of default suspicion of the male vassal class in this gynocentric society of royal females that we live in. Here we see the sentiment that if we put a male in a position of care, they will in fact be an abuser. They're a predator waiting to be set off in the right moment. This is not about specific predators either, because if they were talking about these specific predators, then they won't make it gendered. Female predators clearly exist, and victims that are men and boys clearly exist. It's just that they don't get talked about because women are these angelic, precious creatures with golden uteri that can do nothing wrong nor think evil thoughts. Anyway, onwards to actually digging into this actual thread here. Okay, so I cannot we already read this part. Nearly 20 years ago, I founded Lumos to reform care systems for vulnerable children. I know from long experience how vulnerable children are in institutions. The statistics on predation are appalling. Well, I'll bet the statistics are appalling. They're probably biased against men. So, yeah, I think they are appalling. Disabled women and children are many times more likely to be abused. You mean disabled men and boys are less likely to be reported. Predators go where there's access. Predators love victims who can't fight back or speak out. Okay, so you know what, JK? You know where the females predators go where there's access? You know, in plain sight, where they aren't believed to be abusers. You know, an adult woman can abuse male children, and we get anywhere from leniency towards the female culprit to a bunch of conservative men and others going, "He was such a lucky boy, and I wish I was him." Successive studies show that 98-99% of sexual abusers are male. Okay, I'm calling bullshit on this one. I'm pretty sure there's successive biased studies of misandrically charged material. The real figures are about roughly half and half. The differences aren't really worth mentioning. It's not gendered. That's the actual proper study here. But of course, you want to pick the one where you get to single out the male of the species as the potential abusers here. This validation of male feelings over disabled girls' protection is abhorrent. I think if we're validating anybody's feelings, it's the female ones, idiots like you. It's almost like you want to ensure that males actually do follow through in these abusive situations, that they actually have to be Schrodinger's rapist. You know that term Schrodinger's rapist. It's something that college kids were throwing around back during my own college days. Women and their male lapdogs were kind of lapping it up and using that to kind of explain rape culture or whatever the fuck. Anyway, I'm so bloody my hands are shaking. Yeah, I bet you are, JK. By the way, when men are bloody angry, their hands are shaking, they usually are told to man up, take it like a man, stop being uppity, and in general be content and silent because you're the privileged sex and every day is International Men's Day and so forth. Okay, I don't think I need to read the rest of this tweet. It's just non sequitur nonsense. Anyway, let's get some actual sane responses to your insanity here, JK. Here's one from Phil Mitchell, male sex abuse specialist on Twitter. Maybe just say men are bad and be done with it. Studies rely on people saying that they were abused. Males abused by females are less likely to recognize the abuse, less likely to report or say, and less likely to be taken seriously. This affects data, context matters, all victims matter. Well said. I think Phil Mitchell is absolutely right here. And here's a response on Phil Mitchell's tweet here by Modern James Seeger. JK is more fiction than fact here. Yeah, you're right. Female perpetrators and male victims are both grossly underestimated, even by a factor of 6, for many methodological reasons, but there are studies showing more gender balance for those willing to look, and so forth. Yeah, very good points. Here's one from Men Are Human. This is incorrect. The studies find that women are half of all abusers. The problems are many, but the main ones are documented admitted bias against male victims in research, plus low reportings by males due to stigma. And he has a citation link here. I looked through the citation link, and this is something that I was able to find. This is a snapshot from an Honest Ribbon, written by Aaron Pizzi, who was ousted by feminists and had horrible things done to her by the feminists, even though she was the first founder of the women's shelters and everything. Studies show lesbians much more likely to sexually abuse their wives than heterosexual men. Well, so much for the, men are dangerous thing, right, JK? By the way, JK, since you're so keen on ignoring the opposite side of how this happens, here's one from Metro. Mom and partner guilty of torturing son, 15, to death with months of beatings. A mom and her Thai boxer boyfriend have been found guilty of murdering her 15-year-old son after a campaign of torture lasting months. So, equally, a woman and a man has been involved in the abuse, not gendered, but we also have a boy as a victim here, of course. Because apparently boys aren't victims or something like that. Here's another one from dailymail.com. Mother, 25, found guilty of shaking her 10-week-old baby girl to death after she was discharged from hospital against doctor's advice, will not be sent to prison so she can quote-unquote rebuild her life. Of course, so here's a leniency example. And of course, women are just as well capable of harming and basically killing girls as well as boys. So I don't catch you talking about that. Here's the sex abuse thing I was talking about here. Harris accused of having sex with boy. See, this is the problem with the titles like this. They're not using rape here because the victim, not the victim, the villain is the woman here. They don't straight up say rape. They say sex with boy 14. you know? Anyway, so on and so forth. 14, 4 times a day, begs for prison release. This is normal. Female victims begging for prison release, and it kind of sends idiots a message that maybe she deserves to be let go. Give her a second chance. That's the kind of cancerous gynocentric mentality that's permeating men and women's minds right now. JK, I think your mind is absolutely permeated with women can basically do no wrong by comparison to men. Men are by default dangerous. You're basically just completely indulging every aspect of the men are potential predators. All men are potential predators. All men are potential rapists. The whole Schrodinger's rapist thing of radical feminism. You keep complaining that people call you a TERF. Well, the radical feminist part, that's still kind of spot on here. Anyway, that's really all I got for now. As you can see, J.K. Rowling is clearly going into a misandrous spiral downwards. But the one good thing we can get out of this is that more people are recognizing it, I think. I think people can spot misandry when they see it. So, J.K. Rowling, wake the hell up, and fuck off until you do.